Hey guys, Pastor Eric here. Thank you so much for taking a moment to click on this link to watch this video as we outline a vision for where we're going as a church, for what God is doing in our midst and how we're going to get there. This is a message that is on behalf of the elder team to all of you so that you understand the things that are going to be taking place so that you can be praying and just watching in the days to come of what God's doing here at the Journey. I want to start by saying this. The Journey Church exists to show Jesus as incomparably glorious. You've heard us talk about this a lot recently, and the reason for that is we believe that our job as a church and as individuals in the church is to live a life that shows Jesus as being unmatched and unrivaled and without competition in this world. And in fact, we believe that when we do that, it makes Jesus not ignorable. It makes Jesus you're really unable to disregard. You can't have him on your own terms. You can't just keep him at an arm's distance. If we would show him to be who he really is, and if we would showcase him to be as glorious and as radiant and as beautiful as he really is, then we would make him not ignorable in Lebanon and beyond. The way that we approach doing that at the Journey is that we want to be a gospel-centered church that celebrates the gospel in worship, that applies the gospel in community, and extends the gospel on mission. We believe that worship, community, and mission are the three ways by which we showcase Jesus as incomparably glorious. It's how we reach the lost. It's how we grow the reached. It's how we go out and extend the gospel to others. It's how we ourselves mature in our faith. And so these areas and these things are what our church is about. Now, right now, as we speak, the Journey Church is a church of 450 adults and kids. That makes the Journey a large church. I know it's hard to believe, but think about this. The Journey Church is a large church. How do we know that? Well, Tim Keller is a pastor in New York, and he's actually written an article about church and church sizes and how their leadership and dynamics change based on the size that they are. He categorizes churches by size, and he says that a church from 400 to 800 people is a large church. That means the Journey Church is a large church. And for those of you who've been around a long time, it's hard to believe that the little church of 60 that was in a strip center and then a church of 100 that was hanging out in a school is now a church of 450 individuals and growing. And so what do we need to do as a church? How do we keep going forward? But see, the truth is what we've done to get to 450 will not get us to 650 and won't get us to 850. The way that we've been structured and organized up until this point won't be the most effective way to keep us effective in our mission, and won't be a framework by which we can continue to grow and add people to our body. Right now at the church, we currently only have 1/3 of the Journey in gospel communities. Only 1/3. This is unacceptable. The reason that this is unacceptable is because the larger that a church gets, the more that the caregiving and discipleship and the connection has to be in groups. The reason for this is that we can't expect that someone's going to show up to our church and know 450 people. We can't expect that over the course of 2 services or perhaps 3 in the future that everybody's going to know everybody. It's just not realistic. But we do believe that everybody should know a group of people. And we do that through our gospel communities. But right now, only 1/3 of our church is in this type of environment. And this is unacceptable. Right now in our children's ministry, we have 100+ kids every week. We've got more kids in our children's ministry than some churches have people combined. Now, that's an awesome thing, but here's the deal. Right now, we've got one volunteer who pretty much runs the entire kids ministry on her own. She's doing all the work, all the labor, and has been doing so for years, but this is not sustainable. As a church, for us to continue to add more kids and to grow, this is something where we need someone who's given full-time effort to this, who's overseeing the vision for kids and events and ministry and the facilities and the curriculum and all kinds of things. We also need someone who can also minister to the parents of these children to help them to know how to disciple them. And it's hard to expect a volunteer who's got a full-time job doing other things to put this kind of effort in this direction. And so as a church, we know that we've got to make some adjustments. We know that there are things that we have to begin doing if we want to see the Journey continue to grow and to reach people. See, the truth of the matter is that only having a third of our church in groups and having 100 plus kids with no full-time person thinking about it does not show Jesus as incomparably glorious. It does not allow for us to put our best foot forward. It is not doing ministry at a high level and with excellence. And so here's what the elders and I, after lots of research and homework and praying and planning, believe is the right thing for our church to do in the days ahead. The first thing that you're going to see happen is over the next couple of months, we're going to be hiring an associate pastor who will primarily focus on gospel communities. They'll also have other tasks and abilities that they'll be able to perform, from helping do shepherding and caregiving. But the primary task that we're going to need out of this role is that they are getting the church assimilated in groups. We need the body of Christ to be in groups so that they can be discipled and have shepherd and caregiving and counseling. And this person that's going to be hired would need to be able to train our leaders, would need to be able to set up systems so that people who are new to the church can get involved in groups. This is such a high priority for us that we have a goal to have this person in place by November or December of this year. Our church cannot grow, and it will not grow until this area is remedied. The second thing that we're going to do, and you're going to see happen, is that our kids ministry needs a full-time pastor. And so we have a goal of having this person in place by February or March of next year. This is vital to our ability to retain new families that come to the Journey Church. We want our children's ministry to be so good and so high quality that even if the people come to our church and they do not like my preaching, we want their kids to be so in love with the kids ministry that the family has no choice but to stay. That's how high quality we want it to be. And so we are beginning the process of searching for both positions. And we're praying that God will bring the right people to our church for these jobs. Now, we want you to know that if you've got questions about these things, you can email us and we'll respond to every inquiry, whether it be a question or feedback. You can email the email address that you see on the screen, leaders@tjclive.com, and we'll reply to any feedback or questions that you may have. The other thing that I want you to take some time to do is to read an article by Tim Keller called Leadership in Church Size Dynamics. This article is terribly important because it gives a map and a framework for how the church begins to grow and make adjustments based on the size that it is. The beauty is we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There have been many churches and many people who have gone before us who have organized churches and structured churches in ways that allows for God to continue to bring people and allows for the church to minister effectively to those people. We want you to know that we believe Jesus is doing a great work in our church. We want Him to be the center of every person's life. And we as a church want to show Him as incomparably glorious. We believe these decisions help this to happen. Be praying for us. Friends, good days are ahead. God is on the move. And I can't wait to see what He's going to do in the days ahead.